Step right up, step right down. We've got another episode of the Phreak Show coming right at you, so step right or step left or it'll hit you. That made sense when I wrote it. Let's quickly summarize what's going on this patch. We've got buffs to Gnar, Kog'Maw, Lucien, Nocturne, Nunu, Recon, Rhys, Vi, and Yorick, and nerfs to Aphelios, Cassiopeia, Kalista, Ornn, Syndra, and Yuumi. Also, nerfs to Conqueror, Guardian, and Death Stance for range champions. Not all of these are going to impact pro play, so we'll skip the ones that are inconsequential. Vi is the biggest winner here by far. A whopping 2 seconds off her Q cooldown at max rank means he's going to be dashing, punching, and knocking people back a whole lot more now. I think she is legitimately strong enough to see pro play, but I'm not sure we'll see teams try. After all, it took a full 3 weeks for Licorice to finally break out Wukong in the LCS, so who knows how long we'll have to wait for this one. Do think she's good, though. Another interesting one is Recon, who's seen occasional pro play and not just alongside Xayah. His most common but less powerful skill build is maxing Grand Entrance, and that got buffed if you max it. Now, we'll probably see more players shifting to maxing W first as a result, but it's still not quite as strong as putting those points into Gleaming Quill for the extra healing. That said, if you are sticking with Qmax, it's not really a buff. If you are maxing W, it's 20 extra damage in the mid game, which isn't trivial, but of course isn't game-breaking either. He's solid, and we'll see him in pro play some. AP Kog'Maw is back on the menu. Now, he's a little bit weak, but we still might see some teams try him out, though it is a huge departure from the playstyles we're seeing right now in that lane. He's got a very good matchup into Azir, and maybe we do see the Void Doggy shine in that matchup. Now, do teams need an Azir counter pick? Not really, but he is there if they want him. Might see him occasionally. Rhys has received yet another buff to his base stats to try to bring him up for the average player, while hoping we don't get 100% pick or ban in pro play. As always, I think Rhys is a viable fringe pick, and his non-zero pick rate means I'm right, which is good, and that is awesome. Now, the last champion joining the mix is Lucien. A buff to how far his piercing light shoots out does wonders for his pushing and poking, and puts him in a pretty decent spot overall. With Aphelios and Kalista receiving some nerfs this patch, there's a chance we see the B tier of AD carries open up, with Lucien walking right into viability. Now let's talk about the nerfs. We just mentioned them. I think they're really well targeted. Aphelios and Kalista were the second and third place AD carries over the last patch, and both were hit reasonably hard. Now, both these champions lost some attack damage growth, which hurts their late game damage a little bit. Worth noting, Kalista isn't really picked for her late game prowess, but it's still going to be meaningful. Now, her early game bowling is still very strong, and so that might still be around. Now, otherwise, Aphelios, and I've probably said this 18 times now, might finally drop below 18 or 80% presence in pick ban. Maybe this time it'll finally happen. Either way, pretty meaningful nerfs to both, and we will see both a little bit less. Now, Syndra got a large mana cost increase on her primary laning tool, Darksphere. It's been super impactful on her solo queue win rates, and I anticipate it'll affect pro play quite a lot as well. Say goodbye to flex pick Syndra, as I don't think any of the current bot laners are good enough to play her without the free lane bullying. Bjergsen can totally still rock one of League's several floating purple mages, though, if he wants to. Now, Yuumi is going away for a while. Call it a catnap if you want. Players were trying to circumvent her large mana costs on zoomies by stacking mana-gaining runes like Manifold Bland and Presence of Mind, and it worked. Now her heal has a % max mana cost on it, which promptly destroyed her win rate and made that build still her best, but less overpowered. Now, I will say it was cool to see Enchantress again in the bottom lane, and she was only about 50% presence in pro play last patch, and in this one, you can just delete the 5 from that number. Now, Conqueror now only stacks more slowly. Guardian shields for the amount it used to before the buffs a couple patches ago, and Death Stance is still the best lifesteal item in the game. I don't expect any of those changes to affect the meta very much, but still good that the changes have happened because they were all individually too strong. And that's it for this well-timed episode of The Phreak Show. Stay tuned for the next one where we unveil a new stat that's super cool. See you then.